right, welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Day and show number 80 coming to you from the Pine Room Studios downtown Wheeling. So we have a highly eventful week unfolding. We had an eventful week last week. We have an even more eventful week this week. Obviously, some of the things good, some of the things bad, as we had that terrible bridge collapse in Baltimore of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Looks like it's terrorism, although they're not reporting that on most of the shows. But something didn't seem right about that whole thing, and it's awful. So our thoughts and prayers are with the people that lost their lives and all the people that are affected by it. This is going to cripple the economy of the Eastern Seaboard for a significant amount of time, and I don't really know why no one wants to talk about that part of it, but I advise you to get your news from some better places than the regular channels. But anyway, thoughts and prayers with them. Baltimore strong. Let's go. Hold it together. Opening day tomorrow for baseball, so we're happy about that. Hopefully people can get their minds off this awful stuff. Anyway, to more positive things. It's Bettor's Last Day and show number 80 coming to you live. It's Easter week here as we lead up to the Easter holiday. So Jesus rises from the dead. Hopefully we'll rise from the ashes too, because it was not a pretty week for us here at Bettor's Last Stand. Full transparency as always. I was abysmal in basketball. Some of it just because I suck. Other parts of it are because of just bad luck. If you've watched the Nevada game, you'll know what I mean. We'll talk about that a little bit in bad beats. But we were up about 2.25 units as a group. Nothing really to write home about at all. Gave out a lot more plays because they put basketball plays up, not everything that was on the show. I didn't have it on the show, but I also put it up on Twitter or X. So either way, you got some of the plays. Some of the plays that I didn't give out here, I put on there, and probably wish I didn't have. But anyway, it was a 2-2 week in the best bets, so that's okay, I guess. But as I said, Nevada just made me want to vomit. Texas Tech made me want to vomit. Two of my better plays. Just disgusting stuff. But anyway, 2.25 units up on the week. Not anything great at all. Basically broke even because 2.25, depending on where you're at or how you're juiced. In each particular bet, it could have varied a little bit. So slight winner, golf included, plus 275, so a little bit south of 3. College basketball futures, not very good. We have probably 6 that we can guarantee that are graded as losers. Got a couple more left, so we're not going to result those yet because we still could turn a profit if the other 2 come out. So don't want to put those down as a complete loss yet. 14-9 in college basketball, 2-4 in NASCAR, 2-2 in F1, 1-2 in the NHL, 6-5 in Aussie Rules. So it was not a pretty week. Treading water, scratching it out, however you want to look at it. 3 of the 5 golfers we had made the cut. Keith Mitchell was in a great position for us. He was going to salvage the weekend for us. He goes into Sunday with a 2-shot lead. He shot a great 66 on Saturday, and he absolutely fell apart on Sunday to where about 5 holes in, he wasn't even in contention of even a top 5. 6 over on the round, just about as abysmal as my handicapping was over the weekend. Keith Mitchell's 4th round play at the Valspar was. So not a good week there, but again, it will take what we can get, and it could have been worse, but it sure could have been a lot better. Sam had 2 good ones in NASCAR with Bowman and Busher, both with top 10s, and in F1 he pulled off a nice double with the Haas team, which is like a $7 double. That's almost unthinkable. So Haas with 2 in the top 10 there in F1, so that one helped a little bit. Got us back up to even par because I sure didn't do anything to keep us in the green for the week, or the black, however you want to look at it. Staying out of the red is the goal, and we barely did that. So again, 2-2 on the best bets, so I guess that was okay. Basketball action, March Madness obviously underway. We played 4 days of it. The games have been not that great. Couple decent ones on Thursday and Friday here and there. Saturday's games, maybe one decent one, that Oakland game, which turned out to be terrible. If you had Oakland money line and if you had Oregon money line that night, it's just sickening losses there. And then Sunday's games, just awful, just flat out awful. Colorado comes back, gets a cover for us, but just never. They spotted Marquette so many points, it was just impossible to come back. Purdue, Duke, and UConn all have their games over by the first media timeout almost. Maybe Purdue the second media timeout. The other two games, complete blowouts from the very start. Teams weren't even in the games, and that's the risk you run when you get a couple of teams that maybe kind of upset their way. Like, it was pretty obvious on Friday night that James Madison was far better than Wisconsin. But then James Madison wins, and then they get smashed in the next round. So it's so hard for these smaller schools to play back-to-back good games, and that's what we were victimized by. The games were pretty poor. Officiating was very poor. I don't know. A lot of people were saying it's a great tournament. I got to disagree, and the viewership is up, but I just didn't see the excitement level. Not a lot of close games. I don't even care about the upsets. I just like to see some close games once in a while, or some games that aren't affected by stoppages and reviews and bad calls, and like the Auburn guy getting thrown out. Like, that immediately turned that game upside down. So team that I had going to win it all, they get eliminated in the first round because they're not their best player, but their probably most vital player, a guy that they didn't have a replacement for, is thrown out of the game a couple minutes into the game. So awful job again by the officials as usual for most of the games. Pretty poor stuff. So on to the women's part of things. Women's officials, to me, are a little bit better than the men. I know the West Virginia people would say otherwise, but West Virginia, you played about as good as you could play. Iowa played about as bad as they could play, and they're just a little bit better than you, and that's just the way it goes. I didn't think officiating had a whole lot to do with that. Thought Iowa shot the ball terribly bad. Thought West Virginia is just a bad shooting team, period. And, pretty close game down the stretch. Iowa just has a few more players, but Iowa's in for a difficult time here this week as we get into the games on the card for this weekend. Starting them up on Thursday, so that'll be last night when you're watching this show. So that will take out a couple of the plays, but I will have all these on X, so hopefully you check those out. Arizona and Clemson, San Diego State, UConn, Alabama, North Carolina, and Illinois, Iowa State. Those all on Thursday night, so that was last night. Arizona, to me, just a little better than Clemson. I've not been really impressed with Arizona. I think they're very sloppy. I think they're poorly coached, but they do have good players, so that probably is enough here to get the job done against Clemson, who I think is awful. I do like the game over the 151.5, so that's my strongest play. Lean Arizona there. San Diego State, UConn. UConn should just roll in this game, but I'm not laying the 11 with them, although laying 11 with UConn is a little easier than laying 11 with a lot of teams, so I lean UConn in that one. Alabama and North Carolina, I like that game over. I think that'll be up and down. North Carolina will run with them and destroy them in transition. And Alabama can score a little bit, and they didn't shoot it well at all on Sunday, so I think they'll shoot better. So over 173.5 in that one. I like Illinois in the other game. Little Illinois lean to the money line, too. It's basically a basket there. I think both these teams, whoever wins this game, I think can give UConn a little bit of a test, but we'll see. Illinois with the offensive prowess to be able to score with them. Iowa State with the ability to stop them on defense, although I didn't think Iowa State's defense was all that good in their last game, but it doesn't really have to be, I guess, when you're slowing the tempo down. They played Washington State, and it was, it was a comfortable win, but they left Washington State hang around a little bit, if you ask me. I mean, they're kind of in control the whole way, but little sloppy. And then on Friday's games, you have North Carolina and Marquette. It'll be Marquette 6.5, total 151. I like this game over the total. I do not like NC State at all. I think they stink. I think they were lucky to have won both of their first games. And they can only throw it down to the big fat guy on the block so many times, and Burns or whatever his name is. I think their guards are terrible, and I'm looking for Marquette to just flex their muscles and crush them here. And I'm not really a big Marquette fan either. I don't think they're that good, but I think they're better than NC State. So I would lean Marquette here, but I like the over 151.5. Gonzaga, Purdue. This game should be pretty good. Got Gonzaga, who's well coached, a little bit, little green compared to some of the teams. They don't have a really senior-laden team like they have in the past. Purdue has some experience, but very poorly coached. So Purdue lays 5 here, total 154. I think this is an over game. I think both teams will struggle. I think Purdue will struggle to stop Gonzaga's guard play, and I think Gonzaga will struggle to stop Zach Edey. So I think that will lead to a lot of points. So over the 154 in that one. Duke and Houston. Houston -4, total 134. Even on that one. A lot of money on Duke, like a ton of money on Duke. Money line, Duke plus the points. I don't think this will even be a close game at all. Duke will have to shoot like they did last game, in I guess their first game too. They played pretty well, but this is a huge upgrade from the teams that they just played. So I just they play Vermont and James Madison. Those were the two games they played. Let's calm down for a second here. I think it was Vermont they played, but don't hold me to that. This thing's got my brain kind of fried. But anyway, I don't think Vermont. Just come on, people. You got to be reasonable here. If you think Duke is that good, I don't see it. I think Houston rolls in this game. So I'll go with the Cougars minus the 4. I think they win this game by double figures probably. And then I like the over in the game. I know that's not a popular pick with the Houston game, but I think Houston will be able to get to the basket against Duke and score some points. And then Duke, if they shoot the ball a little bit, which they're going to have to do, they're going to be desperate. They're going to have to get the game trying to go up and down a little bit of tempo. So I think that lends itself to being an over game. So like a lot of overs, I will say, I'm a little bit worried about that. A lot of overs is usually what the public will be on in these games, so I don't want to be on that side. So I'll tread lightly on these, but all these games will be posted on X and Twitter. Creighton, Tennessee, the nightcap on Friday night. This will be in Detroit. I don't really know why it's a 10:09 start in Detroit. That's 9:09 their time. Tennessee minus 3, total 143.5. This one I do like under the total here. Not a Creighton guy at all. I don't think they're very good off their home court. I think they're fortunate to win their last game at my expense, but I think Tennessee here. I know Rick Barnes has not ever been a very good coach in this tournament, but I think he's got a pretty good defense, and I think this will be a low-scoring game where you can kind of get the feel, a half-court game. I think Tennessee will be good in that, and I think they'll play a little bit better offensively than they did last game. So I'll take the Vols, lean the Vols. That's not going to be an official play, but the under is what I really like the best. And again, Creighton, they beat Akron. Nothing special there. But beating Oregon in overtime was really fortunate. Oregon had that game won and let it get away from them late. So lost it in double OT. So that hurt quite a bit for me, and we'll talk about that in bad beats. As far as going forward in futures, I think there's a little bit of value on Iowa State and Illinois. You're getting a huge inflated price there because they're in the region with UConn. You got UConn plus 160 to win it all. You got Illini about 23-1, Iowa State around 15. First of all, that's a big discrepancy right there. Illinois should be a lot closer to Iowa State because that game is going to be very, very tight. Illinois is exceptional on offense, and if they can make any stops, they're going to be very dangerous in this game against Iowa State because Iowa State is not a very good scoring team, and Illinois, it's going to be hard to stop them. I know Iowa State's got a great defense, but we'll see. Can good offense beat good defense, or does good defense stop good offense? That will be the question in this game. I think there's value on both of these teams to be able to beat UConn. I think they both can if they play very, very well, and UConn's not on 100%, so I think it's valuable there. I'd take a shot at both of those teams. I have futures on both of those teams, and to win the East region, I have shots on them. Illinois 6-1, Iowa State 4-1 there. Houston, I think, plus 105 to win the South. I think it was a pretty good one. I don't think Duke will beat them, and there's no chance in the world NC State would beat them 100 out of 100 times. Marquette might beat them once out of 99, or once out of 100, meaning Houston will win 99. I have no faith in the Big East teams at all other than UConn. So that's where I'm going there for a little bit of value left on some of the futures that we do have still running. I have Illinois and Houston still running. We got the one with Iowa State that I added on late. Shifting over to ladies action here. There's another some value here being had because of the Caitlin Clark factor. You have 4 games on Friday night: Oregon State, Notre Dame, Indiana, South Carolina, North Carolina State, Stanford, and Gonzaga, Texas, and that's the nightcap. So don't really have an opinion in the Notre Dame Oregon State game. I'd lean Oregon State a little bit. These Pac-12 teams. Pac-12 best ladies conference this year by far. And then you got Indiana, South Carolina. I'd like to make a play with Indiana, but man, they were lucky to have beaten Oklahoma the other day, and Oklahoma really took it to them in the paint. So I think South Carolina will exploit them pretty badly. So I'm probably going to stay away from that game. Possibly an over bet there. NC State and Stanford's interesting. NC State's not bad. They were able to squeak out a win against Tennessee on their home floor. Stanford, though, I think is a little too good here. I think they'll win this by more than 2 baskets. Gonzaga, Texas, don't have an opinion on that one. Saturday's games intrigue me a little bit more. You have UCLA and LSU, 1 o'clock tip on ABC. LSU, obviously, coming off the title, they've had such an incredibly scrutinized season with the Angel Reese stuff. And now with Kim Mulkey going after the press and the press going after her, and I actually like her. I think she's a good coach. I think she's an all right woman too. I think she's a strong-willed person, and she calls it like she sees it. And sometimes people can't take criticisms, and that's a problem because you're always, if you have a coach or a parent or someone who's looking out for you, if they don't ever criticize you and try to help you get better, then what good are they doing you? So if they're going to do a hit piece on her and talk about how she was so mean to her players and stuff, I don't see it as mean. I see it as she's trying to build these people into good humans, and she's trying to win basketball games because that's what she's paid to do. If people can't take some criticism, constructive criticism, then they need to not play sports, and they need to just, I guess, well, that's what people do. They just quit in the world. But it's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a pathetic state of affairs that we're in as a country. And, I'm hopeful that Kim Mulkey will persevere. But I don't like her in this game. I think UCLA wins the game. UCLA is really good. Plus 140 price of the money line. I'll take the 3.5 with the Bruins and the plus 140. Too much turmoil going on around LSU's program right now to be able to concentrate on this game. So I'm going with the Bruins, sticking with the Pac-12 teams here, Colorado and Iowa. Colorado getting 7.5, 8 at some spots. Caitlin Clark and Iowa did not play very well. They escaped against WVU. This is going to be a much more difficult test. Colorado is really good. These these Pac-12 teams beat up on each other all season long, whether it's Oregon State, whether it's Stanford. You got UCLA, you got Colorado, you got USC. All these teams really good, beating each other the whole year. A lot of the only losses these teams suffered were to each other. So that tells me a lot. So I'm going with Colorado in this game. I'm not saying they'll win the game, but I'm telling you they're going to have a chance to. They're plus 350 on the money line. They're going to keep this within a couple baskets the entire game. So it'll be right around that number, 7.5, 8. So take the Buffaloes. I think they're really, really live. They're a team that we talked about months ago on this show about them being a dark horse women's team to look out for, and the Pac-12 was a pretty good league altogether. And then you got Baylor USC following that. Baylor catching 4.5 in this game against USC. USC is a little too good here. Big 12 to me, women's league, pretty good league. I mean, even league, but not great league. Pac-12 definitely is. So we'll go with the Trojans minus the 4.5 in that one, and then Duke UConn. This will be a tough one. This is going to be a really, really close one. Connecticut minus 7.5. I think I might lean Duke with the points there, but I think UConn wins the game. I think they do just enough. UConn's not the team of old where they're going to be blowing people out. So take a shot with Duke in that one, but that's not one of my best plays there. But stick with those Pac-12 teams. I think Colorado and UCLA are great plays, as well as USC. Take a shot with them. And then future-wise, UCLA and USC, they really have a wonderful bit of value here for the to win it all or to just even get to the finals, which is an important thing. So you have go down to the Portland region here. You got USC in the bottom of the bracket. The top seed in that one is USC. Obviously, that's what I just said. So they are obviously expected to be pretty good right here. To make the final, they are they're plus 185 to win the region. They are plus 550 to reach the final. Now, that is the side Iowa's in. In my opinion, you put these two teams on a neutral court, which is where this will be played at, and I think USC is going to be favored in this game. So I don't understand why you can get USC at plus 550 to make the final. That means they would only have to beat Iowa. I think they'll definitely take care of Baylor. They're better than Duke and UConn. I don't worry about that whatsoever. So they get out there, and if Iowa even survives Colorado, which I'm not thinking they will, or if they do, it'll be lightly, and then I think they'll lose the UCLA. So I expect USC to take on one of their conference mates here in the Final Four, whether it's UCLA or Colorado, perhaps Iowa still, but I think USC gets the job done. I think they make the final for sure, and at plus 550, I think that's a great price. I think they're plus 185 to win that region, which is also a pretty good price. So I'd jump on the Trojans right now. I think they're very, very valuable to have right there. And then you go to the Albany region, is UCLA. It's across the into the other, actually it's above because it's in the same side. So what I'm saying is I think USC and UCLA meet to go to the finals, and you got UCLA at plus 380 to win the region. So you could get a plus 380, a plus 185. Those could be both winners. And then if one of them reach the finals, plus 550 for USC, as we said, and then 15-1, plus 1,500 for UCLA to make the final. UCLA, very capable. They beat Iowa. I think they'll have a really good they're not going to beat Iowa until they beat LSU. Sorry. They got to beat LSU and then perhaps either Iowa or Colorado, who they've beaten twice, I believe. So like UCLA's shot. So I'm big on the Pac-12 here in the women's, in the final season of the Pac-12. I think they go out in style, and I think it's a good chance. If anybody could beat South Carolina, it would be one of these West Coast teams. I don't think that Iowa's going to have the ability to knock them off. They're just going to be a little bit too physical for Iowa. But I think that the two Southern California teams, two rivals, are going to have a shot, and I wouldn't even dismiss Colorado either completely from the entire fray. Colorado comes in about 151 to win it all still, which is an incredibly good price. And I didn't write down what they were to win the region or to make it to the finals, but going to be a good price on them as well. So take a peek at those teams, Pac-12 all the way in the girls tournament. Moving along to hockey here before we take a quick break. NHL period data continues to be pretty good here. Goal in the first 10 yeses. Ottawa 52-18, Tampa Bay 48-23, Dallas 48-26. In the last 10, Ottawa, Dallas, Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, Colorado, all 8-2. Goal in the first 10 minutes, yes, in their last 10 games. That's astounding. 80% for all those teams. It's crazy. Second and third period numbers. Second period overs, Ottawa 57-13, Toronto 57-14, Dallas 56-17. And then the last 10 second period overs, Ottawa, Toronto, Dallas, New York, Pittsburgh, San Jose, all 8-2. So again, 80% across the board there. A lot of these teams will match up with each other, so that makes it doubles your odds to win that bet. Third period overs, Tampa 53-18, Columbus 52-20, Minnesota 51-20. Last 10, Pittsburgh 10-0, the Penguins 10-0 to the over in the third period in their last 10 games. Edmonton and New York 9-1, Tampa, Columbus, Calgary, Winnipeg, Arizona, all 8-2. So you get 80, 90, and 100% clips there in third period over. So check out that data. That's at Chris Otto, I think is the guy's name who does that. So he does a really good. Him and Ian Duncan, they post that stuff updated every day. So it's great intel if you're in NHL Bettor. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Bettor's Last Stand show number 80. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some golf. We're going to talk a little MLB opening day, some Aussie rules. Got UFL starting up this week. Don't have a lot to say about that yet, but we will expand upon it as we learn more, and then get into a few things going on in the industry. A couple of really, really highly contentious topics amongst the sports betting stratosphere here over the last week, and we'll hit on a few bad beats, which I alluded to earlier. Sam coming up in the last part of the program to talk all things racing, also get his thoughts on MLB opening day, some of the teams that he likes this year, as well as the betting scandals going on across the world and some NFL free agency. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 80 from the Pine Room Studios. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 80, coming to you from Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling, on a somewhat of a brisk spring day, I guess. I don't know. It's a little chilly out there, but not terrible. I want to thank our sponsors. IC Cab, as always, 232-1313, 304-232-1313, or download the IC Cab app today. Figure Andy's, Generations, Gumby's, Jill's Gentlemen's Club, all the places that have been so good to us. Zambito, Flooring America, Four Seasons Golf, just super partners. And then the Nailers, of course, the Watchdog, if you haven't checked out our Watchdog show, on every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Don't want to miss that. We got the Lunch Madness final results coming up on Friday, so tune in when you're watching this. Flip it on over to the Watchdog. Check us out and get involved. You can give us a call on the Watchdog hotline, Frio and Stack Watchdog hotline, 304-214-1600 for that one. If you want to get involved, we love the listener feedback all the time. Let's talk here a little bit before we get into the golf and baseball and some of the other things. The bad beats from the week, I'll hit on those here really quick. Nevada was about as bad a one as I've had in a long, long time. A automatic pretty much I thought I had this game in the bag. There was about under 7 minutes to go. 17-point lead. The tempo is really slow. I'm thinking there's really not any chance I could lose this game. I mean, it would take a miraculous display to lose the game. And, you know, of course that happens, and it's tough to swallow. I mean, it was a complete collapse by Nevada. Steve Alford is a guy who I think is a pretty good coach, but, man, he's had some weird results in recent years, just strange things. And Dayton catches fire in this game and ends up coming in, not even forced overtime. They just won it outright. So down 17, less than 8, under 8, but it was actually under 7. And they go on to lose 63-60. So I had Nevada going really deep in that tournament, and I was like, man, this team's playing great right now. They have a shot of making that run that I expected them to make. Nope, choke it away and die right there on Thursday. That set the tone for the entire weekend for me. Once that game come in, Texas Tech, we followed that one up, and that night they were absolutely outplayed from the start. So that was a loser from the beginning, and it just snowballed. And this Nevada, I'll be thinking about that one for a long while. It was just a horrible performance. And then things got just as bad on Friday when you have FAU and Northwestern have a under for the game here. It was 141.5 I had it at. And, of course, it goes to 142 with some stupid fouling, some late baskets. The game went to overtime, which was okay because they could give up like 27 points, and poof, here we go. FAU was awful. They got away. They got away from them really quickly in overtime, and then the fouling with like 17 seconds left, down 11, is just beyond belief stupid to me, and it's just insulting to people that are watching. And you should just give up, man. You're not going to win. Just be realistic. Understand that there's people out there that have money on these games. Don't screw it up for them by doing dumb things that have no impact to winning the game. If you can still win the game, then by all means you should try. But down 11 with like 17 seconds, I don't think that's feasible. So thanks to FAU for that one. Their coach out the door, of course. So they something was off with them all season, and they ended the year by sticking it right in me. I lost by half in that one. And then the Oakland-Oregon debacles on Saturday night. Both those teams, money line bets I had. Both of them we had plus the points. Now, Oakland held on with the spread for most people. They lost by 6, which if you got anything better than 6, 6.5, whatever, you're pretty good. But it went down to 5 and 5.5. So if you got those, you were out of luck. But Oakland goes into OT against NC State. The three-point shooter dude who made all those shots the night before was just terrible. He took so many bad shots in the game, and yeah, he made a few of them. But there was so many times where he should have moved the ball to a teammate, and then he probably could have got it back for a better shot. But I was very worried about that. The one kid that they had for Oakland was really, really good. The number 4, I can't remember his name, but exceptional performance by him. I was extremely impressed with him. I don't know if that kid's a senior or not, but if I was him, I'd be transferring out of that place and going somewhere where I can be on a little bigger stage because he's really, really good. But thought the shot selection was awful. NC State, to me, is just so bad. They had no business winning this game. So Oakland loses in overtime by 6, and then after that, you got Oregon. Total control of the game here. You know, they didn't gap them too much but against Creighton, but they were ahead and they had control, and they're up 4 late. They blow it at the end of regulation. It goes to OT. They look like they're dead and buried in the first OT. They come back and force a second OT, and then they just fall apart. Lose the game in embarrassing fashion, 86-73. So rest assured, we did not cover the 3.5 there. We did not cover the money line. So those hurt a lot. Man, could have been 4 winners there. It turns out to be 1 and 3 with just Oakland hanging on with the point spread. So those were some vicious beats from the weekend. I'm sure people out there all have them. There was a couple of halftime ones. That guy threw in a long 3 for Mississippi State, I think, to put the first half over. I mean, there was so many bad things there. A lot of bad officiating, too. As I said, it compounded matters. And just overall, hadn't been that enjoyable of a tournament. The betting scandals are the hot news here of the week here. You got 2 of them. You got 2 of them developing. You got the Shohei Ohtani situation. You have the Jonte Porter situation. So Shohei, If you're not familiar, Shohei's interpreter Ige, his former interpreter, is now accused, I say, because originally it was not described like this. So I don't know. Either Shohei's changed his story, Ippei's changed his story, but Shohei's has a lot of holes in it. So my question is, how did this happen? So here we go. These questions haven't even been asked yet. They haven't been allowed to be asked to these guys. So how did he get access to his funds? Okay, I've heard interpreters come out and say, I did interpreter for this guy and a pro sports, and we do have access to all their stuff because they don't understand the language and they need somebody that can, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that I can get behind. But why didn't Shohei say, gave him access, he stole from me? He didn't say that right away. He did not say that. Now he's still saying he stole from him, but he never said that he gave him access to his accounts. So to me, I probably would have distinguished that right out of the gate and told the exact truth of how this all went down. So why, my question, if he had the access, okay, why did Shohei not admit it? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. How did nobody notice the missing funds? It's $4.5 million. That seems a little bit weird. Now, I guess when you have so much money, it doesn't even matter. Perhaps, all right, I could chalk that one up to just being just completely oblivious or negligent or whatever, just not paying attention. Why did Ohtani first say he paid off Ippei's debts? He used that word, paid off his debts. So to me, somebody's lying right there. If he said he stole from him, then he didn't pay off his debts. You didn't do that. You didn't willfully do that. So that's a question that needs to be asked. And then later he stated he was unaware of Ippei's gambling problems. So if he paid off his debts and he knew it, he definitely knew he had a problem. So there's something missing from that whole thing right there. So again, I don't really understand why we can't get answers to these questions. How is the interpreter able to get a line of credit of $4.5 million from an illegal bookmaker if Shohei didn't know anything about it? Like, that seems, I mean, is he vouching for him? Is the bookmaker taking his word? I know some of these guys, they don't do that kind of stuff. They're illegal bookmakers. They're mad when you're down $1,000 to them and you owe them. They're not going to be accepting $4.5 million of credit. Or extending $4.5 million worth of credit to a guy who makes $300,000 a year. Like, it doesn't happen. So that's a question that needs to be answered. Why did Shohei say that he and Ippei were not friends, that they were business partners in the past? And then later he said, we're not friends, we just work together, and that's it. So that part didn't make sense. And then the interesting wagers, if you saw these, a lot of interesting wagers in Japan from some games where Shohei got shelled in the games. There was heavy action on the overs, runs given up by him, innings lasted to the under, all kinds of things that would make you could insinuate that somebody knew something and he was going to get knocked around as a pitcher in these games. So it's just really, if those things, and I can't corroborate those, but they were posted, and according to sources, I don't know how these people got this stuff, but if that is real, then we got a real problem here, because this is going a whole lot further than him making some bets on basketball games out in California. I don't know. So there's, to me, this seems like, and I don't want to indict the guy because it's not up to me to do that. And I would say the evidence right now, very circumstantial, but there's definitely a lot of holes in the case. And unless you're going to answer these questions, I'm still going to be thinking, man, I think this guy made the interpreter be the fall guy here. So it sure seems like Shohei Ohtani was the guy betting, and this guy was meant to take the fall, because the story's changed multiple times. And normally when the story changes, it usually means somebody's being dishonest. It wasn't just a situation where they forgot a detail and they changed one part of the story. There's like 5 items here that were not as they were first presented, or they've changed since. So I want to say I hope he isn't doing it, but it sure looks like this needs to be investigated further. And MLB has a right to do it, and they have it's got to be investigated, because you have so many integrity issues here amongst your fans, amongst people that are betting on this. You're entering into partnerships with sports betting companies, and you're giving them the word that your game is filled with integrity, and that is a little bit absent in this case. So MLB has a responsibility to investigate this, and I'm not sure they will, but I know they don't want it to be true, and they may just sweep it under the rug like our government would. And then the Jonte Porter, NBA's Jonte Porter. If you're not aware of this one, people were betting his unders in these games on his player props, which is very bizarre because he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of attention. He barely plays for the Raptors. But heavy money coming in on his unders in these games, and ironically, he looks like he was faking injuries in these games to come out of the games to cash these unders. And we all know that's the risk there when you bet overs in these games. You gotta worry about guys coming out of the game and getting hurt in the NBA more than any other sport because they do it all the time. And now it makes you think, geez, how many times has this actually happened? Is this the first guy that did this? Is he the first guy that had this idea? So I don't know who is making these wagers, but that needs to be investigated. If he was tied to it, it definitely does. He obviously, somebody close to him or him himself gave these people the inside information. I'm going to say it was him himself because he was faking an eye injury all of a sudden one time in a game where it just didn't make sense. It's something that happened to him a few games ago, and he was in the game, and he didn't have anything that would have aggravated it. So a lot of questions here. This guy looks like he was absolutely shaving his own totals on purpose to keep games from his props from going over. And you saw wagering sites such as DraftKings and other books saw a noticeable spike in the action on Porter. And it also led to the integrity services flagging these, saying, oh, my God, we're losing all this money on a Tuesday night game with Jonte Porter, who's over-under on three-pointers made was a half, and he didn't even take one because he got hurt and he left the game. So there are so many bad things right here that are going on. But, again, thank goodness that we have legalized betting now because it sniffs out a lot of this stuff now. Old days wouldn't have happened. Somebody would have got screwed over. Somebody would have got their palms greased with some money to shut up, and that would have been that. But now you got the whistleblower is basically the technology is finding and blowing the whistle on these guys who are cheating. So that's a good thing. We need to keep that out of the game. Definitely don't want that. Sports betting is going to be the center of a lot of negative publicity, and it's really not fair because this, again, doesn't have anything to do with sports betting. It has something to do with the people. Again, it's the same situation you would say about guns or whatever else you would say. You can't blame the actual weapon or vehicle for every car death or whatever you want to say. You can't blame the sports betting here. You got to blame the people. There's greed, there's lying, there's thievery, there's cheaters. Those are the people that are the culprits here, not the sports betting. There's integrity measures in place. I can speak to them. I live by them every day to make sure that this doesn't happen. And it's sad to see the people who do that. So let's go into another part. I have a thing of the NCAA president is saying he's trying to get rid of all prop betting on college athletes for all their sports. Again, this is not how you do this. This is not how you stop. You don't take beer off the shelves because some underage kids get their hands on it and get drunk at a party. You don't stop the people who are legal from doing it. That's why you don't stop this from sports. You don't stop people from sports betting because kids are going to cheat or that people are going to pay them off or that there's a lack of integrity or that they haven't been taught right and wrong. You don't just stop everything based on that. You don't just take the easy way out. You have to live to a standard. We're all supposed to uphold the law, so that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to just be able to say, I don't like this law, I'm just not going to do it anymore, and then they just ignore it to where you somehow get to get rid of it. That's not how it works. So this NCAA president is an idiot. Most of the people that work at the NCAA are idiots, and they don't know anything what's going on here, and they should be concerned about policing their own sports and not having their players transferring to 6 different schools in 6 years. And maybe they could concentrate on that instead of worrying about the sports betting industry, which is not going to be affected by the fact that kids are going to be going out betting hundreds of $1,000s on themselves to fail or score their point totals. That's not going to happen, and it will get stopped, and we will sniff these people out. So I don't really know what his big concern is. If he has people within his purview in the NCAA playing sports who are willing to take money to shave points, then that's his problem. He needs to work on that and let the bookmakers worry about their part of it. So that guy can pretty much F off, in my opinion. And then from a good side of things, Ice Cube made a $5 million offer to Caitlin Clark to come play in the Big Three League. We talk about Big Three on here quite a bit during the summertime. I think it's a really good league. It's really well-played basketball. It's nice to see. It's way better than the NBA. And I think it'll be awesome if Caitlin Clark played there for a summer. You got some girl coaches in there. Lisa Leslie coaches a team. Nancy Lieberman coaches a team. It's really cool, and I think that the league could actually become co-ed, which is pretty neat. And you do have value in the 3-on-3. A girl can play with guys. She can do that because you have certain dynamics where your athleticism is not the only thing that matters. In 3-on-3, spacing, ball movement, all kinds of rhythm. It's just a much more pure game. You don't have to worry about getting out sprinted, getting dunked on in the open court, and all these things that you can never stop a male athlete from doing to a girl. But in 3-on-3, you can absolutely utilize someone with the talents of Caitlin Clark. So hopefully she takes him up on it and plays instead of going to the WNBA. I think it would be really cool. Skip a year, make the WNBA winner, and really make the Big Three be even bigger draw. And I think that would be awesome. And just shout out to Ice Cube because this guy's an incredible businessman. He has been successful in music, in movies, and now he's in the sports entertainment, and he's doing a really good job. He's built a great product that really is starting to grow, and it is. I don't throw out compliments very often to leagues, but this is a good league, and I hope it continues to get the credit it deserves. It's getting on TV a little bit more. It's getting a little bit more exposure, but if Caitlin Clark goes to it, it's going to really be huge for him, and I congratulate him because he's able to put all the things aside that in general society are frowned upon. Like for a guy like him to be making an offer to Caitlin Clark, a lot of people would say that that's too risky. You shouldn't be doing that. You're going to alienate part of your base and so on and so forth. He doesn't see it like that. He's always looking for the next innovative thing. So I give that guy a ton of credit. I think he's done a fabulous job building Big Three, and hopefully she jumps on board and joins up with them and plays this year. I really look forward to that. All right, let's get into the golf here really quickly as we got plenty more to cover before we talk to Sam here in the third segment of the show. All right, it's golf this week. It's another Scotty Scheffler field, so that could be a problem. Scheffler comes in as the favorite. He's 2.5 to 1, maybe 3 to 1 if you're lucky. Tony Finau won this last year. He's 16 to 1, second choice. I'll be passing on those guys. I just can't give out plays with guys priced that low, so we're not going to try that. But if you're on Scotty Scheffler, I can't fault you right now with the way these fields are constructed. He's just so much better than most of the other guys. The live guys are just decimated the PGA Tour. So I don't know. If you want to play him to win and then play these other guys that I recommend for top 5s, 10s, 20s, I don't blame you. I'm going to bounce back with Will Zalatoris. He fell apart a couple of weeks ago in the Players, but I'm hopeful that he can bounce back here. He's around 18, 20 to 1, like Jason Day, around 25 to 1. And I'm going to go back to the well with Keith Mitchell, who was doing great for us for 3 days and then absolutely collapsed on Sunday. So let's hope Keith can keep it together here. He's around 38, 40 to 1. He was I think he was he was top 10 here last year. Let's see what other guys. Yeah, Zalatoris and Day and Keith Mitchell are my top plays. Then I like Aaron Rye, who was top 7 here last year. Alex Noren, who was a top 5 here last year. He's 40 to 1. Rye, 42 to 1. And then Joel Damon, who's had a lot of success here at this course, the Memorial Municipal course out in Houston. And like Joel Damon, he's about 110 to 1, so you can get a pretty good price on him. Also, Doug Gim's been playing great golf now over the last few weeks. And I think he's very dangerous here at 65 to 1. I think he can hang in the top 10 or 20 throughout the entire weekend. So, again, top plays, we will go with Zalatoris, Day, and Mitchell. Our longer shot plays, Alex Noren, Aaron Rye, Doug Gim, and Joel Damon, the big bomber there at around 110 to 1 at the Texas Children's Houston Open this week in golf. All right, let's get over to baseball. So we got a few plays here in baseball. I'm going to get Sam's thoughts on some of this as well in the next block. But baseball right on the corner. Going to post these season-long win totals and some of the other things that I like on the Twitter page as well. So if you didn't get them in right away, the numbers will readjust over the weekend. You'll be able to bet these. It's still early enough. It's not going to make a ton of impact either way. Some of the contenders, just looking at the teams overall, Atlanta 6-1 to win the World Series. The Dodgers 3.5 to 1. I think the Ohtani thing's going to be a distraction for them. I think they're going to have a lot of questions amongst their players. It's going to be a tough clubhouse to be in for most of the season. So I think that's going to hurt them. I obviously think their pitching is a little bit iffy as well. And so I'm going to probably go against them. Plus the way that these teams that have had the buys in the weeks off, it's not trended well for them. The Dodgers and Braves both victimized by it. The Orioles victimized by it. But I think the Orioles, I think the Astros are going to be contenders in the American League. I think the Giants, the Padres, I think are going to be right there with the Braves and the Dodgers. Really like what the Giants have done in the offseason. Also think the Padres had just not a very good year again last year, so I think they'll bounce back. American League, I think the Orioles and the Astros both make sense. Astros around 3 to 1, Orioles around 5.5, 6 to 1. Rangers, can't discredit them. I think they still got a pretty good team, so we'll throw them in the mix as well. But I don't think the Yankees are a contender. I think Seattle could be a contender at 750. Nothing that I love there. Most likely, to me, it's the Orioles or the Astros. And then in the National League, as I said, the Dodgers or Braves, the teams to beat. But I like the Giants and I like the Padres. I think both their rosters constructed well enough to win. I really like what the Giants did. And with that pitcher's park at Oracle, I think they're going to win a lot of games, and I like their chances there. Going into the divisions here quickly, American League Central, you have the Tigers are taking a lot of love here. Twins are minus 120, Tigers plus 330, Cleveland plus 325. Don't think Cleveland's going to be quite as good. Tigers at 80.5 wins, though, to me seems really, really weird. I've been on the Tigers the last 2 years. They've really underwhelmed. I think they're not going to be quite as good as 80 wins this year, so I'm going to go under with their win total. So Tigers under 80.5, and then on the other side, I like the Royals over 74.5. They're 870 to win a division. Don't know if they can do that. Perhaps you want to take a stab with them. I would not talk you out of it. I think there's some vulnerable teams here. The White Sox, I don't think will be as bad as everybody thinks they are. They have a pretty decent roster, but it's just motivation's been a big issue with them, finding the right manager. But I like the Royals over 74.5. American League East, I like the Yankees under the 92.5. I like the Rays under there, 83.5. The Blue Jays, 83.5. I like them under. I don't like Tampa either, but I'm not going to play their win total. I think it'll be right around 80 with the win. Baltimore plus 185 to win it. It's not a great price, but they probably should be the best of the best in that division. I just don't think the Yankees are a threat at all. Toronto, I cannot trust either. Then going over to the National League, Braves, obviously, huge favorite to win the National League East, but I wouldn't count the Phillies out. Plus 285. Take a look at them. I think the Marlins will be a little bit better. They're 24 to 1. That's way too big a price. The Mets at 11.5 to 1 is nuts to me. The Marlins should be a lower price than the Mets. I like the Mets under 81.5. Talked about that one several weeks ago right here on BLS. And then the Nationals over 65.5 wins. I like that one a lot. That's my best bet win total of the year. People beat on the Nationals a lot, but this team has a really good young makeup. They got a lot of good players in that Juan Soto trade. They know how to rebuild. They're rebuilding quickly. Pitching's going to be an issue. They're going to have to score a lot of runs, which they will. They got a really good top of the lineup, a lot of guys that can run. They're an exciting team, and they will not give up. So I like the what I saw from them last year. So I'm going over 65.5 for them. American League West, Seattle Mariners are the team here. I think they beat out the Astros and the Rangers here. Just close, though. All three of those teams, really good contenders. I think they all make the playoffs. But I like Seattle a little bit. They've kind of freshened up their team a little bit. Huge fan of George Kirby. I think he's going to be in the mix to maybe even win the Cy Young. But I know he's going to win a lot of games. He's going to strike out guys. I'm very impressed with him, and I like him to have a really good season. All right. National League West, it's the Dodgers, the favorites, obviously, but 103.5 is a little much, so I'll go under 103.5 in the wins there. I like the D-backs over 84.5, and I like the Giants over 83.5. That's a really good division. You throw the Padres in there, other than the Rockies, those are four really good teams. And then the NL Central, hitting close to home here. Pirates 75.5. I think they'll win more than that, actually. I'm not going to recommend that as a bet because I just don't trust that franchise. Milwaukee under 77.5. I think that's a great, great bet. Milwaukee has all kinds of problems right now, and they're in a rebuild. Cubs under 84.5. I was on the Cubs last year. Don't like what they did in the offseason. Don't think they got any better. I think St. Louis is the team to beat there, plus 155 to win the Central, and over 83.5. So I go with the Cardinals in that one. A couple of other prop bets I like for the season, like Austin Riley over 163.5 hits for the Braves. I think he'll get that relatively easily. Season series handicap, Nationals versus Mets. This is an interesting one. These are some things that they've added newly to a lot of the books. Plus 2.5 games. So that's the season series. They play 9 times, 12 times, whatever it is. The Nationals plus 2.5 games against the Mets. I get a plus price on that. I am all over the Nationals there. I think they'll be better than the Mets. And I think the Nationals will compete very strongly in their division games. And I think the Mets are going to be an absolute train wreck. Orioles minus 2.5 games against Toronto, plus 170. Orioles have played very well against Toronto. Toronto just has a losing culture to me. So I think that's a great matchup for the Orioles. I think the Orioles will win that by 3 games or more easily in the season series there. Saves, I thought Craig Kimbrell, he's going to get opportunities. Whether he'll be any good, I don't know. So tread lightly. But 12-1 is not a bad price. You had Bautista leading the league in saves last year, and that was a victim of the setup roles, and hopefully the Orioles can keep a lot of those guys intact. They got Cano, so they have Colombi back, so they got a little bit of a nucleus still back there. Obviously, Bautista out for the season, so that's going to hurt. But Kimbrell 12-1 to lead the league in saves. Don't hate it. George Kirby to lead the league in. Not lead the league in wins. To go over 170 strikeouts. I like that a lot. He's a good price on that one. You also can find him to lead the league in wins at around 30-1. So I wouldn't. I'd sprinkle a few bucks on that one, a little donut money or something on that one. So 30-1 is pretty good price. They're going to win a lot of games out there in Seattle, and he's going to be at the center of it, and he's getting better and better. Adelisa Garcia to lead the league. No, I'm sorry, not lead the league, but in home runs versus Kyle Tucker. So that's head-to-head. Who will hit more home runs, Garcia or Tucker? I like Garcia, minus 130 in that one. Gunnar Henderson, plus 130 over Bobby Witt Jr. to hit more home runs. And then Ronald Acuna, plus 105 over Shohei, who's going to have a circus environment around him all season. So I don't like that. All those will be posted on Twitter or X, so you can find those a little bit later if you didn't want to write all of them down. And now we'll briefly talk about the UFL, which starts up this week. That's the merger of the XFL and the USFL. Don't know what to expect yet from that, as the odds are still being formulated in a lot of places right now. I was going through those numbers today. Some definitely discrepancies. So we'll keep an eye on that. Probably maybe have some picks here in a couple of weeks. But when in doubt, I think these games trend to the unders because you just don't know where you're gonna have on the offensive side of the ball. So lean to the unders in the early weeks there. If any plays come up or anything that I'm interested in as far as number movement, I will post on Twitter or X, BLS_PRP, or at the Pine Room Studios. You can find all that stuff. All right, so AFL time. It's round number 3. Wednesday's game won't matter here. Thursday's game won't matter here. But I do like the Brisbane Collingwood game over, and I like the North Melbourne Kangas plus the points, plus the 34.5 and over 174.5. But let's get it going out to Adelaide and Fremantle. This will be an early Friday morning matchup. It'll be the Crows 0-2, Fremantle 2-0. Fremantle 10.5 point favorite in this game, 167.5 the total. I'll be going with the Crows here. They really need this win badly, and I like the under the 167.5. Moving on also to Friday. This is a 1:20 a.m. on Friday. First bounce, it'll be Essendon taking on St. Kilda. St. Kilda 8.5, 165.5 the total on this one. I'll go with the Saints minus 8.5. Saints have played pretty good. They still wear down in the second half, so that part concerns me. But they're playing a little bit better. They're 1-1. Essendon, I think, is smoking mirrors. I think they were lucky to have won a match. So we'll be going over 165.5 and St. Kilda minus the 8.5. Then you got Melbourne and Port Adelaide in a really, really good matchup here. Port comes in 2-0. The Demons are 2-1. It'll be Port minus 13.5, total 165.5. I like the over in this game. I think it'll be a very closely contested. I'd lean Port a little bit, but Melbourne's good enough. This will be a slugfest. So over the bet there. Saturday, 10 o'clock p.m. It'll be the Western Bulldogs against the West Coast Eagles. The Western Bulldogs minus 49.5 against the 0-2 West Coast Eagles, who were horrible last week. And we actually covered a couple of those alternate spreads in that matchup. 179.5 is the total. We'll go Western here. I think Western wins this game by 60 or 70 points. So don't be afraid to go with an alternate total once again against West Coast. It's going to be a trend for most of the season. Anybody in the top 8 is going to be able to beat this team by 100 if they want to. Then you got a Saturday. This will be actually a Sunday morning match. It'll be 1 a.m. It's Richmond in Sydney. Sydney minus 21.5. They're 3-0 in the season. Richmond 0-3. We have them under their win total. They're going to be really bad all year, but I like 176 as the over here. I think this will be scoring into probably the 190s. So we'll go with Richmond and the Swans over 176.5 on Sunday morning or Saturday night, however you want to look at it. And then this one will be, I believe this is a Monday. So, but check this. I think it's 12:20 a.m. the night after Easter, or the morning after Easter, a few hours, 20 minutes after Easter ends. It'll be Hawthorne and Geelong. Geelong 2-0, Hawthorne 0-2, Cats minus 19.5. Hawthorne, as I said, 0-2, total 169.5. I like the under in that match. So let me go through these again real quick. It'll be Hawthorne and Geelong under 169.5. Richmond and Sydney over 176.5. Western Bulldogs minus 49.5. Port Adelaide and Melbourne over 165.5. St Kilda minus 8.5 over Essendon, and the game over 165.5. Adelaide Crows minus plus the 10.5 against Fremantle. The under 167.5. North Melbourne plus 34.5 over 174.5 in that same match against Carlton. And then the game, which was already played, so it won't do any good, Collingwood and Brisbane over 168.5. That'll do it for round 3 of the AFL. We're going to take a break here on Bettor's Last Stand Show number 80. I'm going to come back with Sam the Man and talk all things sports, the scandals, baseball, NFL, racing, of course. It's the Bettor's Last Stand 80th edition from the Pine Room Studios. We're going to take a break. Be right back.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in Bettor's Last Stand, show number 80, joined now by Sam the Man. Lots to discuss today. We got racing recaps from last week. We got a nice Easter evening race at Richmond. We have betting scandals going on across sports. We have boats smashing into bridges in Baltimore a couple days before opening day. Sam, it's a chaotic world out there. How's everything up your way?
Things are great. It's sunny out, and it's the day before the Buccos have their biggest season of my lifetime. 83 wins. Count it. Sam says 83. That's 83. What my calculations say. So I'm pretty fired up, man. I can't lie.
I am too. I always get excited about, this opening day. I don't know, there's something about it. No matter what, no matter how, by the end of the year, if I'm hating baseball, I'll always get excited for it to start back up. Definitely just a newfound, it's like new hope. It's just, I don't know, something about it, just kind of getting the spring off on the right foot, and look forward to it. Tomorrow, Buccos in Florida. What do you think of the final roster and everything? I mean, obviously you're pretty confident, 83 wins, which I think is feasible for them. I agree with that. Just overall thoughts as you guys head into action tomorrow.
Matt, I love the roster, but there's one glaring issue. I mean, huge issue. If Jared Jones is on the pitching staff,
right,
Paul Skeens has to be on the pitching staff.
Right. What is that? What kind of message are you sending?
They keep saying, oh, well, he's got no major league experience. It's so rare. All right, well, he's not even our number one pick. Our number one pick throws 101 on average. Why is he not the fifth starter? That's the only thing I'm like, you know what? I don't get this.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, as we said months ago, this is going to be a ploy to get a sellout crowd on a Friday night when they're going to.
Oh, I know. You're right. You're totally right.
So we know that's why. They should just say that. I wish they would just say that, but you're actually, reducing your team's chances of winning. I mean, you got to see what this guy's got, and even if he's limited, you still got to get him up there. I never really understood that. Like, nobody ever has big league experience until they get to the fucking big leagues. So I don't really understand that. Nobody's ever had big league experience before they played in MLB. So it makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. The Indianapolis Indians do not need the win. They don't need any of what's going to happen from it.
No.
It's irrelevant. It's stupid. It's useless.
Yeah, you'll boost a few crowds down there, I guess, but that's about all. So, I mean, Pirates, Marlins, that should be a pretty good series. I mean, you never know what to expect early in the season, but I'd say those two teams are pretty even, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I'd say they're even. I think the Pirates kind of have the upper hand. I think the Marlins have a little bit of a injury bug going right now
Yeah.
to start the season, which is great. But that doesn't mean shit.
No.
We could get swept.
You're right about that. And for as good as the kind of the start they had last year, it could turn the other way this year. And baseball is just a game of inches. I mean, you're just a couple inches inside or outside the chalk line from being 0-5 or 5-0. So we'll see. But it is nice to have it back, and I'm sure we'll talk plenty more about that. But is there any teams, any dark horse teams that you're looking at in baseball this year that you think can make some noise? And then what are your thoughts on the NL Central? How does that go?
I don't usually do this like teams that were in the World Series, but there's something about the D-backs.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think they're quiet. Nobody, you don't hear too much about the D-backs. You don't see too much of them, at least, up here.
Right.
And I think they're good. They didn't lose a lot of people. They added Montgomery.
They gained, yeah, right.
So, and I think, honestly, the side note, Boris is an idiot.
Yeah, he screwed up a lot.
I think the teams finally took their stand, and he paid the price.
All those guys getting one-year deals.
Man.
Like, come on.
Right,
man.
now you have to be good.
Yeah. Yep.
What if you're
You're
not,
basically pitching for your life again. So, like, Blake Snell's season last year was basically thrown out the window. Like,
it's irrelevant, man.
It didn't matter.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and
2-year deals and 1-year deals.
And when you mentioned the Diamondbacks, that to me, I like what the Giants did this offseason, and obviously the Padres have a good team too. So, I mean, I think that NL West is absolutely a loaded division, and then you got all the distractions around the Dodgers with the Ohtani betting scandal and his translator. And, man, I mean, to me, that really works against the Dodgers. I mean, I know they're really good, but that's going to be a major distraction for them. Don't you agree?
100%. I mean, it's so glaring, and I keep texting my one buddy. He knew. Ohtani knew. There's no way.
Yeah, he did.
There is no way. This guy's your best friend. He fucking interprets the language for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And you didn't know that he had $4.5 million in the gambling debt? Like,
it doesn't make sense, Sam. We were talking about it earlier. We're talking about on the radio this week. There's so many questions that no one will ever get to ask these guys because, they did their little press conference. They just talk. They don't ever take any questions. But the story's changed a few times already. And to me, that right there indicates that there's some dishonesty going on in here. And, I think that either Ohtani was the guy that was betting and he was being the proxy, or he was well aware of it, because at one point he did say he paid off Ippei's gambling debts. And then all of a sudden it turned into he's stealing from me. And the story's changed too many times. Something's not adding up. And somewhere, well, not really somewhere because he's already been out in the media, but Pete Rose is about to be vindicated as not being the best player to ever gamble in baseball. Perhaps.
And it's like, it's nuts, man. I would have never thought that this would be the story, but I have to have the answer. I want to know, who are Ohtani's favorites? Who did he pick to win the NCAA tournament? Right. I got to know where his numbers are at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know how you get a $4.5 million line of credit with the illegal bookmaker. Those people break people's kneecaps for being owed a few $1,000s. So unless Ohtani was using his own name out there, I don't know how a guy would feel comfortable letting this interpreter run up all that debt. Something's just not making sense. And I think the Dodgers knew about some of this stuff, and I think they tried to stop it, but they couldn't. And now they're going to have to answer questions all year, and it really sucks for the other players on the team because that's all they're going to talk about.
Definitely, and now the deferred money to me looks odd.
It does.
Just like it looks a little more odd to me like, why did they defer all that? Is there a legal thing that's coming up that you have to have a chunk of change set aside? What did they know that we don't know?
Is there a reason? I mean, if they tie Ohtani to a legal bookmaker, I mean, the guy could be deported from the country. I mean, there's a lot of things here that could go wrong, and but I don't know. To me, I think MLB is going to bury this under the rug like David Stern would back in the old NBA days with the Tim Donaghy stuff. Bury it because he's the biggest face in your game, and you can't let the game get destroyed by this. So I would say Manfred's burying this any way he can. Yeah,
which is embarrassing. Baseball, they're good at that.
Yeah.
They certainly have that down to a T, so I'm sure they can make this go away. But it's still, I mean, the Ohtani's presence now is totally different to me.
Right. Now, Chris said the other day, he said if this was Jared Triola for the Pirates, he'd already be thrown out of baseball forever. And I think
there's a good chance.
Right.
There's a very good chance.
Yeah, so we shall see what develops there. Anything else from a baseball side of things? Any teams you're high or low on? Any dark horse teams?
I think, I mean, the Dodgers, I think, are the best. I think the Dodgers 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 are the best. I think the D I read an article on lunch that said that Pirates got 0 votes from whoever votes for the first place in the Central. And I was like, well, why would we get a vote?
Yeah.
People were pissed on their on the radio and people at work. Like, why would we get a vote?
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure the Cardinals will bounce back. I in my opinion, it's going to go like this. I think it goes Cardinals, and then I think the Reds and the Pirates, one of those two is going to be in second place. I think the Cubs will probably be in third, and then the other one with the Reds or the Pirates probably in fourth. And I think Milwaukee will be last in the division. They've had some bad things go wrong. They lost Corbin Burns. They lost Devin Williams. Their lineups
lost Craig Counsell.
Yeah, different manager, whole different setup there for them. I don't like what I'm seeing out of them, so I'm way down on them. I'm under their 77.5 wins. I didn't love the Cubs offseason either, and I expect the Cardinals to bounce back a little bit because that was a very un-Cardinal-like season last year. So I think they'll still be up near the top. But how do you fall on the Pirates versus Reds? I think this rivalry is going to start to really, really develop even more than it already has.
I love it. I can't wait. It reminds me of what was his name? The pitcher that fought the big lefty.
Oh Garrett.
Man.
Was it?
Yeah, Amir Garrett. It reminds me of that. I need to get it back to that level of hate.
Yeah, Jarrett.
We need something good to watch.
Jarrett hates the Reds more than any other team, he says. I don't know why, but it's just funny to see.
Really?
Yeah, he said he hates them more than anybody. So I don't know. It should be a fun season in the NL Central. As far as the AL goes, let me ask you about this team. I was high on this team the last 2 years, and they let me down so very badly in the American League Central, and that was the Tigers. And now I see the Tigers with a posted win total of 80.5 wins. How can that be?
Because they kept their manager. They keep, I love their manager. I think he's good.
Yeah.
I seriously, I think that's a big part of you find this guy that's been a winner. Sure, he got in a little bit of trouble.
Right.
But they kept him. He stayed around. I think Javi Baez's contract is terrible. I think it's a huge waste.
Oh.
But Matt, it's a shocking number to see the Tigers that they think that the Tigers are gonna really be that good.
Yeah, posting 80.5 for them was surprising to me. The Royals at 74.5, which I like them a little bit over. Twins, I think, are okay. Cleveland, I don't think can hit. And then there's the old White Sox, who actually don't have a terrible team, but they're a disaster everywhere else. They haven't found a manager that can push the right buttons, and it's just a debacle for them.
They're a shit show. They really are. I feel bad for them.
And then you got the New York Yankees, who, to me, don't have the pitching to be able to win the American League East. But, I don't think Boston's going to be very good. Tampa, to me, doesn't do a whole lot. And Toronto, I can't trust. So, basically, it's down to Baltimore and New York. Where do you come down on that one?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
I cannot stand New York.
Well, and you also have to go – it also goes without saying – it seems like whenever there's a tragedy in one of these cities that the team always responds. You had the Boston bombing situation. You had, the Yankees made it to the World Series after the 9/11, but they didn't win. But it seems like that happens a lot. And maybe this year, Baltimore learns from their playoff exit last year and maybe can at least get to the World Series.
I hope. I do not want to see the Yankees in the World Series. I cannot stand them.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to worry about that. But let's hope. All right. Let's get on to the topic at hand here. Racing, of course. Last week's race was, I would say, interesting. At different points of the race, I thought that different guys were going to win. But at the end of the day, William Byron just too good for everybody else. What did you think of last week's race?
It was that race that wasn't too exciting. There weren't too many crazy things happening, but if you really like racing, you're going to enjoy it. So I enjoyed it. I thought Byron was pretty good towards the end. That pit stop he had was huge.
Yes.
Bell was quick at the end. He definitely would have won if he had another lap.
Yep.
He was coming right up on his ass.
Yep, another good run for Ty Gibbs. But I really do like that Coda track a lot. I think it's a cool track.
I do too, but somebody like Chase Elliott. What?
Killing me.
Man.
Keep picking the guy.
I'm right. And it's this week I'm high on him. I'm I'm not sure how I feel about this.
He didn't even lead a lap at a road. He was dominating these road courses a few years ago. Something's really gone amiss with him, and I don't know what's going on there. But the Hendrick team ran great as we thought. Bowman was really good. Obviously, Byron was good, and even Kyle Larson, who had some bad luck, but his car wasn't bad. Elliott was a total disappointment. But you had a couple of good picks with guys being in the top 10 there. You had with Busher and Bowman. Both of those guys ran well for you.
Yeah, they did. And Bowman, man, Bowman's hot. He's got something. Now, this is, Matt, I don't know how you go about this, but do you get worried when somebody's been this consistent about going towards them again?
Yeah,
just because it's racing and there's so many different things that happen.
With a guy like Bowman, absolutely, because he's not proven that he's going to be able to sustain it all the time. But as we saw last year, I had that same fear with William Byron going into last year, where he would show hints of brilliance and then he would fall off. But last year he was so great. So I don't know, maybe Bowman takes the next step this year and does that. It's possible. But yeah, no, I always do fear that. But I got to figure out, we have got to figure out, Chase Elliott's obviously an issue, but Kyle Busch, again, and Joey Logano, I mean, what the hell is going on with these guys? I mean, it just might be the end of the line here for these guys.
It could. You know, I was very faithful, and Busch started the first couple of races. He looked good. They were up there.
Yes.
And something's not right. I don't know if he's
just
got
pissed after the race.
Right. He was really pissed.
Bell.
So I don't know if they're just not at a quality team. If this is like, man, this is not JGR. We just cannot consistently. Because all the JGR guys, they're doing fine without Kyle Busch.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are doing perfectly fine. So I don't know if he's just frustrated. He's won a lot of races. He's a damn good racer.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I get it. It's tough to deal with when you see Chris Bell and Gibbs, guys that kind of took your spot, and you're kind of fading a little bit, and Truex isn't what he used to be, and I'm sure it really pisses him off, but they've got to get the RCR operation just needs to get better.
Brutal. They're like the worst team right now, to be honest.
They really could be. So good run by Allmendinger. Ross Chastain had a pretty solid run. Tyler Reddick was pretty good. I mean, it was a solid race. I didn't think anything stuck out too incredibly weird or, other than some of those guys just not performing up to the level we usually expect them. Richmond now, another one that we have some really, really low prices here on some of these guys, and that's a concern to me.
Gibbs' price is nuts. Gibbs' price is nuts.
Yeah, just starting with Denny Hamlin, who's obviously a multiple winner here. He's from Virginia. Around $4. Chris Bell around $4. Ty Gibbs 8-1. You mentioned it. It's too low for a guy. I mean, this is a tricky track.
He hasn't won a race.
Right, and Richmond is one of those tracks that guys either hate it or love it. Usually, I don't know if Gibbs is there to make an assessment. Martin Truex, he's sub $6 right now, and he really hasn't done a whole lot at all this year. So that's all off past history. You got Larson at around 8.5, and William Byron at around 9-10-1, which actually is not bad for him the way that he's been running. When I was going through this, I came down to two of the guys, Busch and Logano, who I thought had good prices that I wanted to roll the dice with, but I can't do that with confidence. And so I landed on Brad Keselowski as my top play this week at about 11-1. Where did you go?
Brad K. I was waiting for you to say it. Matt, we are exactly on the same page.
Right,
I have three names written. I had Busch, Logano, and Keselowski.
That's nuts.
And you said it. The other two numbers, they've been so bad. I have no faith.
Yeah, no, I'll probably take a little stake in them, but like Keselowski's going to be where I'm going to target as my top one, just because Brad's run well. He's been doing well. He's got a good history here, and the number's fair enough for me to take a shot with him. Whereas last year we kept saying it when his prices kept drifting up. Joey Logano 20-1 is absolute highway robbery. But now he's just had so many issues. I can't trust that he'll be able to take it up to the front. So I'm gonna probably pass, maybe play a little bit lightly. Long shot guys, where did you fall? Anybody that you like under the radar? I got a couple myself, but go ahead.
I was looking at Bubba.
Okay.
I don't think Bubba's a bad one. And like we said, I had Logano written on this, but I have no faith.
Yeah.
I would even like Bowman's price is good, but I'm just worried he's been too consistent.
Right.
This is going to be the off one. Just like he's in the middle of the pack, 10 to 15th place.
I get a little
worried.
What do you think about Daniel Suarez or Josh Berry? I had both of them up on mine.
Yeah, Josh Berry's my go-to because he's taken over Harvick's car. Stewart Haas has ran pretty well here in the past.
And he ran well in relief of Elliott last year. And they say that Richmond is one of those tracks where I said earlier about guys either like it or hate it, but it's also one of those ones that either fits your driving style or doesn't. And obviously, if you're jumping in relief of a guy with very little practice in a Cup car and you're finishing in the top 5, that's usually a pretty good sign. So I would say Barry kind of likes the track.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I don't think Kyle Larson's a bad pick to win the race either. I
No.
know it's not exciting in the slightest bit.
I don't either.
But he's so damn good.
And I think his price is a little bit more. Like, if you're going to give me Larson at around 9-1 or ask me to take Hamlin or Truex at 5 or 6 or Bell at 4, I'm taking Larson because he's
Larson.
equally as good or better than those guys, and he's got a better price. So and he's raced well here, and these kind of tracks just suit him. But right now, what do you think about the dominance of Chevy? That was one that I did get right last week. I did think a Hendrick car would have a shot in a Chevy, so we gave that one out. So that was one winner that I had. But where this dominance of Chevy and some Toyota mixed in there? But what the hell's up with the Fords?
Matt, they're irrelevant. I mean, they've been, besides, let's say, Blaney every now and then, you'll get a RFK up there. But I don't know. Hendrick in particular has just been, I don't know what they're doing, Matt.
Right.
But they're doing everything they need to get every car up there, which is a very impressive thing.
Yeah,
it's very impressive.
It is. I mean, they're you can see it trending that way. It's like all their cars are fast. I mean, all their guys are leading laps. I mean, something's up there.
They've won 4 out of 6 races, Chevy.
Yeah. I mean, it's been quite impressive. And you look at it again. You even have Allmendinger and Chastain up there with Chevys. And I mean, Kyle Busch, I mean, he's not been up to the standards we hold him at, but he's still been okay. And I don't know. Ford, you're right. Blaney, and then an occasional run from RFK, Busch or Keselowski, but it's just strange to see Logano not be threatening at all. Austin Cindric, of course, who we were kind of high on last week, hasn't done much. I don't know. Maybe it's just the end of the road for some of these Ford guys. I don't know what to make of it, but hopefully it'll even up. Usually it does. These teams will figure out something as we head into Richmond. I don't know. Do you think Ford can narrow the gap at all, or is this going to turn out to be like the Red Bull team in F1?
It's kind of crazy. I said to myself, like, I know my drivers, I think, very well. I'm like, who all does Ford have? And I'm looking at this, Matt, and
it's not a strong.
They are the weak link.
Yeah,
for certain.
Yeah,
it's actually kind of shocking when I look at it like this.
Right, when you just look at the car and then the guys driving it. Yeah, it is. You're basically down to a fading Logano. You got Blaney and you got the RFK guys, and then after that, I mean, good luck finding the next best guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's shocking. It's you hit the nail on the head. It is shocking after you name those top guys who they have behind them.
I mean, then you're down to where you're saying, okay, Josh Berry, he's rookie in the circuit,
like Gragson, Haley, Gilliland,
and then you got guys like
Burton,
Michael McDowell. Like
I mean, Matt, you could not race Harrison Burton, and I don't know if I'd notice.
I don't think you would. He's really been very underwhelming. But long season to go still. We'll be looking forward to the Easter evening showdown at Richmond. Should be a good one. Flipping over to F1. Well, no Red Bull last week.
How about that?
Man, you nailed yours with the Haas team coming out in the 9th and 10th. The double top 10s for
right
Haas.
On the edge.
Nice payout for us. Carlos Sainz gets the job done. Ferrari runs 1-2. McLaren 3-4. So I had that one, 2 in the top 6. Oh, Max Verstappen and the Mercedes guys. Yikes. Not the best day for them.
I know, but Matt, I was smiling ear to ear when I saw it. I couldn't believe it.
It's nice to get a change.
It's odd that 2 years before it happens, 2 years,
right.
Recently it happened. I find it odd. I love it. Brake catches on fire. It's exactly what F1 needed. They needed something to keep people engaged, honestly.
Yeah. No, they did. It's sad you have to root for a guy to have a failure to be able to make the race enjoyable for anybody else. But, that's basically what it was. I mean, it was Carlos Sainz took over quick, and he did not relinquish the lead.
Dude, Matt, it's going to be his best year. And I wanted to ask you, do you think Lewis Hamilton is kind of going downhill?
Yeah, no, I think you're seeing the Lewis Hamilton. I think you're seeing the same thing that's going on with like Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. You can only stay on top for so long, and as you get older and you're just all of your attributes start to dull a little bit. It may be a slow decline, but nonetheless, it is a decline. So yeah, no, I think maybe Hamilton to change of scenery will help him, but I don't know. Just Mercedes as a whole, just not. I mean, the engine issue, I guess that's really not his doing. And then George Russell crashes late. He had a pretty good car. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but Hamilton was on top for so long. He was bound to come back to earth.
It's just odd. I just feel like that they're not getting the driver that they think they are.
No, I don't think they are. I really don't. And they're going to obviously get rid of one of their guys. I'm assuming it'll be Sainz.
Yeah. It's a shame, man.
Yeah. So now he'll be.
He's my
commodity.
favorite driver, I think.
Yeah, I always liked him. He always seemed a little bit haphazard to me, but when he runs well, he's very good. It's just you usually know very very early in the race. It's like about 2-3 laps in, if he's got it for the day or he's going to be out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Another decent showing for Fernando Alonso was in the top 10. Lance Stroll, how about him? Top 6 finish. How about that?
I know. He does this to us, Matt. He puts us on a roller coaster every week.
I was happy because I had double top 10s for the Aston Martin, so we'll take that. It took retirements of 2 Mercedes and a Red Bull to get it there, but
yes, it did.
It doesn't really matter how it cashes as long as it does, so we'll take it. All right, last thing. What did you think of those? I watched a little bit of the Indy cars. What were your thoughts there on the Thermal Club out in California?
I thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, Matt. I mean, honestly, you can't even schedule these races. There's like a race a month,
right,
to start off. But then they were trying to be like This was like such a F1 wannabe thing. It's not cool like that when you seclude it the way it is and make it seem like it's this yuppie thing. Like it was embarrassing. There's no points. Teams crashed. They wasted money. It really wasn't exciting.
Yeah.
I thought it was so stupid.
I didn't understand the whole concept of it. I don't know. Somebody needs to enlighten us on why that even happened. Who decided that was a good idea?
I don't know. I don't know where they. And also, Matt, they didn't even have the winner. Didn't even get $1 million. They couldn't raise $1 million to give to the winner, so the winner got $500,000.
I think that's a one and done then. Shut that thing down. Now we got 3 more weeks off. Figure that out.
I know.
And
I know.
Not only going
it's
to Long
stupid,
Beach.
Matt.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. It's weird. It's almost like we said last week. It's like the next race on the docket's going to be the Indy 500. It seems like it's crazy.
NASCAR reigns supreme, Matt. They're consistent every week. Race. They are. Race,
they've really done it. They've really done a good job. I can't say enough about how they've turned the sport around in the last 5 years or so. With some of the new tracks they brought in, the new cars that they've launched here. They've tried a lot of things, experimental. Some of them we're not huge fans of, but I applaud them for trying. So it is good, and it's nice that we won't have to be watching a dirt race on Sunday night. We can see the nice black top of Richmond and enjoy that, and should be a good time. All right, thoughts on basketball real quick before we let you go. What'd you think of the March Madness games, either men's or women's? What stood out to you?
Can you see what I'm wearing right now? I wore this for us.
Yeah, there. Oh boy, yeah. Oh, that stings. Oh, Nevada.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt,
for those of you
Matt,
listening, Sam's sporting a Nevada shirt. We were on the wrong end of that one last week. We were talking to each other. We could see it unraveling at the under 8 timeout, and then he scored like 2 points after that. Disaster.
Matt, I mean, I was going downstairs to take a picture of the shirt, and I was like, no, that's like a jinx. I got to make sure that they really have it. They didn't score. They didn't score. I
couldn't believe it. That was one of the worst beats that I've taken in a long, long time. Because you could see it happening. There was nothing you could do about it. And with a 17-point lead with under 7 minutes to go, you say, this is impossible. Man, I don't know. That one stung me. I've been thinking about that ever since then, every day.
I know.
I can't.
I know. I even muted my TV to try to stop their momentum.
I did.
I thought that was going to do something.
I did everything I could possibly do to try to stop it. It just walking away, not like okay. All they needed was to score like 2 more baskets in that time span. They would have won.
That's it. And they couldn't do it.
And that derailed my whole weekend. Like I feel like my momentum was sucked out of me by the end of that. Did any game stand? I don't think it's been an overly great tournament. Not a whole lot of exciting finishes.
No, it's been pretty boring. I mean, there were a couple of those buzzer beaters in the first round, but other than that, it's been pretty just low key tournament. To be honest, nobody's like standing out as like the Steph Curry. This is the guy that.
No, that guy for Oakland for like one game, and then he took so many bad shots in the second one.
Brutal.
He kind of shot him out of the game. But Yeah.
did.
I mean, anybody you like in these Elite Eight games? Any games you think might be interesting?
I think UConn's the best team because their coach is a fucking psychopath.
He's nuts. He is nuts. You're right about that. Yeah, I think they'll take care of San Diego State pretty easily. I'm looking forward to the Illinois-Iowa State game. Whoever wins that game, I think, could at least hang a little bit with UConn, maybe. Just because Illinois' got the great offense, Iowa State's got the great defense, But UConn, to me, they're definitely the class of that side of the bracket. And then, Houston's played pretty well so far too.
I always get shocked when you see an Alabama in there.
Yeah.
Just a program that really came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
last couple of years,
did. That's what cheating will do for you, I guess.
Yeah, you're damn right, Matt.
Yeah, that game should be pretty exciting. North Carolina, and they both go, and Alabama didn't shoot it well on Sunday night, and they still were able to survive. So I think there'll be some points in that game. But yeah, I don't know. It's really not. It's not really been that exciting of a tournament. I'd say the women's tournament's actually drawn more attention. It seems like because of the Caitlin Clark and the WVU matchup and all that stuff. So, did you pay attention to any of the women's games?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I find them interesting, but I can't believe I have to say this. The men's games always are just far superior to me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I cannot, like, I'll watch it for a little bit, and I'm just like, all right, Caitlin Clark's way better than all these girls. Yeah. But then it's like, you get the number 9 guy on the bench when he comes in and he does a windmill over the starter. It's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
I like this a lot more.
Yeah, it's quite a drop-off there. Yeah, absolutely. But women's game's definitely grown because of her. Like it or not, some people hate her, some people love her. But can't argue with the results. At least they did grow the game. But all right, Sam, well, thanks, as always, for joining us. I shall see you on Sunday, brother. So
yes, sir.
Be a good, fun Easter, and we'll see you in a couple days, and thanks for your contributions as always. Go Bucks.
Absolutely. Go Bucks. 83 wins. Everybody enjoy opening day. And, Matt, I'll talk to you.
Sounds good. All right, that's Sam the Man from Upper St. Clair getting ready for opening day tomorrow. His win total, the Pirates, 83 victories. We'll see if they can get there. I think they got a shot at that. I lean to the over for them. I think they'll be just one cut below the top end division winners in the National League. So I think they could be a playoff team. I can't believe I'm saying that. For as cheap as that franchise is, we'll see if they hang on to people. They won't buy at the trade deadline, so that will hurt them. But should be exciting. That'll do it for us here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 80 from the Pine Room Studios. Be sure and circle May 4th on your calendar. It is the first annual North Atlantic Beer Mile, part of Waterfront Fest down at Waterfront Hall. Get all the details on the Pine Room social media or at waterfronthall.com. You can sign up, get your tickets today, get entered into the race, I guess is the way to say it. So do that. Check it out. Check out Waterfront Hall, all the things they got going on. Nailers out of town this weekend, and they're back home for a few as they get ready to end the season here. Got 7 games left. Playoff push is upon us. We got a lot of roster shakeups. Penguins calling guys up. Wilkes-Barre's getting depleted a little bit, and you have that trickle-down effect. So we'll see what happens with the Nailers. When the Penguins are finally eliminated, I don't know what will happen, but we shall see. We'll be pulling for them, and we thank them for their partnership. Thanks to all of our sponsors, IC Cab, San Pedro Flooring America, Four Seasons Golf, Figueretti's, Generations, Gumby's, and Jill's Gentlemen's Club, and obviously our friends at the Watchdog for everything they've done for us. We look forward to having you tune into the radio here for the next couple of days. Tune in on right now. If you're listening to this on a Friday, we're on 12 to 3. Don't miss it. Lunch Madness concludes this week. March Madness about halfway over for the women and the men. Opening day begins this weekend. Have a safe and happy Easter to everybody. Enjoy your time with your family. Have a few drinks. Win a few bets. And we'll see you next week on Bettor's Last Stand. Don't forget BLS_PRP for all the Bettor's Last Stand picks throughout the weekend, whether they're coming off the show or live in-play type stuff right up against the event starts. We got lots of stuff on the sports calendar this time of year, so we look forward to it. We'll see you next week on Bettor's Last Stand. It'll be show number 81. Hard to believe. Baseball in full swing, basketball winding down. Have a safe and happy holiday, and we'll see you next week. All right, welcome in. Bettor's Last Stand, back after a Thanksgiving hiatus. Last time we were seen over at Belmont Brew Works. Had our buddy Rick on the show. He had us over. It was a great evening. We talked a lot about sports betting on the show as always, and then had a few drinks and something to eat. So it was a good time. Chris here with me in the studio.
Hello.